Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube NFL prediction segment, I'm going to be talking about 2013-14 NFL predictions Week 2. First game, I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. Big shocker here over the New York Jets. Patriots are at home. They're 17-2 in their last 19 versus the AFC East. And, the Jets pulled out a miraculous victory last week. I understand that. That was, had a good win. That was against Tampa Bay at home. This week they got to go on the road to New England where, it's not going to be such friendly confines for them. And New England, though maybe not the beast they once were, they're still good enough to beat the Jets at home. I like the Patriots. Next game, Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to take them at home over the St. Louis Rams. St. Louis Rams very likely improved this year. I think they could very well get a wild card spot. However, Atlanta is simmering, coming off a heartbreaking loss to the hands of the New Orleans Saints. And I think the Rams, they might make this game a little more competitive than a lot of people think. And Jeff Fisher is a great schemer, and he'll formulate a great game plan, I'm sure. But I think Atlanta just has too much on offense for the Rams to handle, and I like the Atlanta Falcons in this one. Next game, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills at home versus the Carolina Panthers. Buffalo looked somewhat impressive last week. They once again got defeated, when they were on the threshold of victory. I think Buffalo at home against the Panthers, they'll have a little better chance than they did last week against the Pats. And the quarterback looked very good. I believe that Buffalo, they might be starting something special with them. They fooled us before. There's times in previous years they looked rejuvenated. They looked like they were at the start of a new era. But I think, we might see something good with Buffalo this season. I'm not sure yet, but I think they're good enough to beat Carolina at home. Next game, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears at home over the Minnesota Vikings. Chicago Bears last week, they had a very good win against an upstart Cincinnati Bengals team that I really believe is, could be a consensus pick to win the AFC North Division despite losing last week. And Chicago Bears, they're without their polarizing figure, Brian Urlacher. But Minnesota, to me, looks like, I know it's one game, they seem like they're taking a step back from last season. They lost to the Lions last week. I don't think they're going to be as good this season as they were last. And if Chicago is going to be comparable to what they were last season, they are at home. They shouldn't have much problems beating Minnesota at home. Next game, Green Bay Packers at home over the Washington Redskins. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers and their vaunted offense. I think, Washington, I'm surprised that Philadelphia had them reeling last week. They couldn't seem to come up with any answer to counteract the Eagles' high-octane offense, and now they got to go into Green Bay and facing another volatile, explosive offense with the Packers. Packers are simmering off a heartbreaking loss to the 49ers. They are at home. And I believe this will be a win for the Green Bay Packers. Now the Indianapolis Colts, another home team. Don't be flabbergasted, people. I'm going to take the Colts over the Miami Dolphins. The Indianapolis Colts won last week. It was a tight game against the Oakland Raiders, who played a little better than a lot of us anticipated. I think it will be providential for them this week, with Andrew Luck. And the Colts, I believe, will win the division this year in the AFC South. Miami might be improved, but they have to go on the road to play the Colts. And I know, Miami, they looked good last week. Their defense looked stellar, but that was against the Cleveland Browns. I don't think they could repeat that performance against the Colts, and I believe the Colts will win this one. This could be the most compelling, intriguing matchup this week. Coming up, Kansas City, I'm going to take them at home versus the Dallas Cowboys. Both teams looked stupendous last week. Dallas won at home over the G-Men. Kansas City, though, throttled the Jacksonville team that was one of the worst in scoring offenses last season. I really believe that Kansas City is revived and rejuvenated. This is obviously not the same team from last season. They look like to me that they're going to be a better defensive team. They got Alex Smith as quarterback, the new head coach with Mike Holmgren. This is a new era for them. I'm sorry, I believe it's Andy Reid is the new coach for Kansas City. I'm sorry. And they're revitalized. This is a game at home. This is their first game in this new era at their home stadium, and I think they shouldn't have much in a tight game, I believe they pull this out at home. Next game, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens at home over Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns don't have really much of a tendency to beat teams in the AFC North, especially on the road, and Cleveland just doesn't beat many teams, period. I think, we have a team with the Baltimore Ravens, though their defense is not as ravenous as it had been in previous years, they're still, good enough to beat a team, that really is not very good. And, Cleveland wants to pride themselves with special teams, pass defense. I don't even think that's as good as it had been in seasons past. We'll go with the Ravens at home. Next game, we go with the Houston Texans over the Tennessee Titans. Houston Texans, they won a tight game over San Diego last week. That was on the road. Houston, though not, like an invincible team like Seattle at home, still very solid at home. They generally don't lose to the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans put up a very valiant effort against the Steelers last week and came away with a victory. It was a tough road win for them. Their defense looks like it's improved, but it's not improved enough to defeat a high-octane Houston team at home with all the weapons they have between Arian Foster, wide receiver, Andre Johnson, and Matt Schubb. And they have some people on defense with Houston as well. So I really believe this is a team that, Houston's still a team to be reckoned with. Tennessee's not ready to beat them just yet. Next game, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles, defeating San Diego Chargers, Philadelphia at home. The Eagles looked very impressive last week. They surprised the heck out of me. I didn't think they had it in them to go into Washington, D.C. and defeat the Redskins. Can the Eagles be a team to be reckoned with this season? Well, it's really hard to say after 1 week. However, this could be a vastly improved team and could be a little bit of a shocker this season. San Diego, they couldn't win at home against Houston. I don't know how their defense is going to handle a high-octane offense, a very fast-moving offense with the Eagles on the road. I believe Philadelphia wins this game. Next game, Arizona is at home against the Detroit Lions. I'm going to take Detroit on the road. Finally went with a road team. Yes, I know. Detroit Lions, they didn't look that bad this past week. And Arizona, as usual, they found a way to lose. They lost to St. Louis in a very tight, gut-wrenching loss. Detroit, I think, and we look at a battle of offenses, I think it's very easy to see with them. With their team and Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, there's just no way Arizona is going to be able to keep up with their scoring, and I like Detroit on the road. The next game, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints on the road versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Tampa Bay, a lot of people seem to think that they're going to be immensely improved this season. I didn't really see that. I know it was just one game. I know Tampa Bay's at home, but the Saints have everybody back. The Saints were in disarray last season. They had people suspended from that bounty scandal. And it's really now the Saints can be one of the premier teams or elite teams again. Saints win this one, I think, fairly easily against Tampa Bay on the road. Next game, Oakland Raiders at home versus Jaguars. I'm going to go with the Oakland Raiders. I just don't think Jacksonville is capable of beating really hardly anybody this season. I look at the Oakland Raiders, though they're not really that good, they still have some more proponents on their team offensively and defensively compared to Jacksonville, and they should be able to take this game handily at home. Next game, we got the battle of the Manning brothers. New York Giants are at home versus the Denver Broncos. Well, this is going to be a very competitive game, I say. I expect this to be, these teams both in full throttle. We're going to see maybe a strong offensive output. I believe the two Manning brothers in passing yards combined for over 900 yards this week. So it wouldn't surprise me we get a combined passing yardage total of at least 800, if not more. Expect a game, at least in the, in the 30s to late 20s. You might see a score like 35-28. I'm going to go with the Broncos because they're just simply little better team. Their offense is clicking. 7 touchdown passings by Peyton Manning last week. The Giants have a little dropsy epidemic. They can't seem to hold on to the ball. They committed 6 turnovers last week. And if they can't rectify that problem, I don't know, the Giants might be in some trouble this season. I don't think it's going to end against Denver. I think Denver is the superior team. Denver, I believe, is Super Bowl bound, and I believe they will beat the Giants this week. Next game, Seattle Seahawks at home versus the San Francisco 49ers. I heard something on one of the ESPN channels. The analysts were talking about Seattle maybe going to be concerned with what San Francisco did this past week with their receivers, and I really I don't necessarily see it as anything problematic for the Seattle Seahawks, because when you have such great a defensive team, great cornerbacks, I think somebody, facing somebody big and burly, as far as receivers go, that might actually be easier for them to contend with, and neutralize, as opposed to somebody that's very small, shifty, elusive, and nimble. I think they will be all right against San Francisco. They annihilated the 49ers last season at Seattle. I really expect, I don't think they're going to blow the 49ers out, but I see Seattle winning in a competitive game because the 49ers will make the adjustments. Next game, last but not least, Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to take them at home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Pittsburgh is starting to decline a little bit. I think we might be seeing the fall begin a little bit with the vaunted, steel curtain of the present. Can Troy Polamalu do what he once did? Is Roethlisberger, the quarterback, is his skills deteriorating? I think Cincinnati, in a division which might not be really strong, is still very likely the best of this bunch. They are at home. I think they're going to redeem themselves and make amends for their loss to the Bears on the road last week. I think Cincinnati gets the win and goes to 1-1 and still remains, in my mind, the favorite to win the AFC North division. Well, people, that will conclude this YouTube segment for my 2013-14 NFL predictions for Week 2. And stay tuned next week, where I'll be dissertating and talking about my predictions for Week 3 of the 2013-14 NFL season. Until next time, people, stay well.